Okay, hold on to your seats, directors. The political landscape has shifted dramatically this last 7 days. And if you've got a bounce back loan, you're going to want to hear this. I'm Chris Word and I'm from Director First, and in the next 15 minutes, I'm going to reveal to you how Labour's election win could turn your world upside down. Whether you're sweating about potential bounce back loan fraud or just wanting to keep your business afloat, this video is going to be a lifeline for you. So grab a coffee, silence your phone, and let's dive into the storm that is about to hit UK businesses. Okay. Listen, let's cut to the chase. Labour's manifesto has dropped a bombshell on page 19. They are introducing something called a COVID Corruption Commissioner. Now, this isn't just another bureaucrat. This commissioner is coming hot, ready to go after anyone who's played fast and loose with those bounce back loans. And it's also coming to slap the arses of the banks if they've been found to do any wrongdoing. Now, Labour, they are not mincing words. Now, I don't want to get political. I don't know how much you can trust what a politician says. But they are promising to go harder and smarter after organised crime gangs. They deserve it. We understand that. But they're also going after what we would class in the past as smaller fraudsters and anyone who has exploited these COVID support schemes. And here's the kicker though, right? I want to put this out there. If you legitimately access business support, you spent it on the right thing, you applied for the right amount, then they're not coming for you guys, okay? You've got nothing to worry about. They're promising to treat you like honest folks with respect, especially given the current economic climate. But here's actually what it says on their manifesto, and I quote, Labour will safeguard taxpayers' money. We will end the link between access to ministers and an inside track for public contracts. There'll be no PPA contracts given out by Labour. We will appoint a fixed term COVID Corruption Commissioner, and we're going to use every possible means possible to recoup public money lost in pandemic-related fraud and from contracts which have not been delivered. They're talking about the PPE again. And we will not tolerate fraud or waste anywhere, whether in social security or in excessive use of consultants. Alongside strong national finances, Britain needs resilient family, right? So they're talking about bounce back loan fraud there, right? Mainly. Now let's have a look at what the terms and conditions of the bounce back loan. You was allowed to take one if your business were trading at the start of January 2020 and it had been negatively impacted by COVID. Let's have a look at what the rules were. The first one, you could take up to 50 grand, but you capped it at 25% of 2019's turnover. And this is where a lot of mistakes that were made. You could only estimate your business's turnover if you was incorporated after the 1st of January 2019, okay? If you was incorporated in 2017 or 16, you had to use 25% of your actual turnover in 2019. Now, I've seen it where a business was incorporated in 2018, they didn't start trading till 2019, so they estimated their turnover. In those cases, you need to have detailed notes about why you took what you took. But if you took too much, potentially, Labour are going to be coming for you. If you took a bounce back loan and you weren't entitled to one, so this is one I hear all the time, you took a bounce back loan of 50 grand, but in 2020, your accounts were dormant. You shouldn't have took one. There's no ifs and buts. If you took 2 bounce back loans for one company, that's seen as fraud. The one that people don't understand as much is spending the bounce back loan personally. And there's sort of 2 scenarios. If you took your bounce back loan on the Monday and over the next 2 years you withdrew it in line with the year's previous takings or less than, or like, I don't know, a couple of grand a month, there's no one coming after you for that. There's no action against you. But if you took your bounce back loan on the Monday and on the Tuesday you sent it to your personal account, that's going to be looked as misappropriation, okay? I mean, let's talk numbers. Listen, brace yourselves about this because they're eye-watering. The Conservative government has lost an estimated £7.2 million to COVID fraud and spunked another £8.7 billion on failed PPE contracts. That is a lot of zeros, folks. Labour is on a mission to claw what they can back from what they class this scandalous COVID corruption. But here's where it gets interesting. Some banks are actually trying to cover their arses at the moment. I mean, if we look at Barclays, they've gone to the High Court and they're wound up over 100 companies suspected of BBL fraud. And we're going to see that more with different banks. If they suspect fraud, they can go to court to wind the business up and start an investigation in the director. Now, let's sort of break down what happened was when a bank takes a company to the High Court. It's bad news for a director, that's for sure, especially if they've been, at it with a bounce back loan. Because if you get wound up in the High Court, you lose control, okay, of who that insolvency practitioner is assigned to deal with the case. And if any wrongdoing is uncovered, that insolvency practitioner or the official receiver can come after you personally, or the bank might give it to a litigation funder. I'm seeing this at the moment, right? Let's imagine the bank suspects you of fraud. They issue a winding up petition, okay? You either have to pay all that money back before the winding up petition's heard, but let's say you don't pay the money back, you get wound up in the courts, and the official receiver will either pass this job on to an insolvency practitioner or they'll investigate you themselves. But what we're also seeing is these cases where COVID fraud has been suspected, they're giving the job to a litigation funder. And these are like really aggressive legal firms that will basically buy these cases from the insolvency practitioner, and they will pursue you guys personally, and they're really aggressive. People call them bounce back loan bounty hunters, but they go after the directors really hard and they get a huge chunk of the funds they recover, which means they're really motivated to dig deep. And honestly, they can get your personal assets, they can go after your house, they can force you into bankruptcy. It's really scary. So what can you do to protect yourself? There are sort of 5 crucial tips that I want to share with you. Number 1 is I want you to keep really detailed records. Ensure you have all documentation relating to your bounce back loan, which means your application, your thoughts around your application. If you feel that you took too much, there needs to be an explanation and a robust arguments why you did it. I hope you did some minute meetings from at the point. Another thing you need to do is seek professional advice really quickly. And if it's bounce back loan fraud, I'm really not the guy for you. You need to seek legal advice. Perhaps deal with a specialist insolvency lawyer who's got experience. Because what I've seen is the insolvency service, if they try and go for a disqualification order against a director, I've seen like directors who can put a really robust argument as to why it happened and what they did. Generally, the action seems to be stopping. It's the directors that sort of roll over that are getting, getting lengthy bans. I want to caveat it here, right? If it's clear bounce back loan fraud, you've got to get what's coming to you. Another thing is you've got to communicate with the lender. Speak to the bank, right? Can you make some partial payments? Can you pay some of the loan back? My advice to people is if they've done stuff to the bounce back loan they shouldn't, pay the bloody thing back and hope no one checks. You could, number 4 is also consider insolvency options. But if you've committed bounce back loan fraud, insolvency is actually going to open the can of worms. The investigation's still going to happen to you. So you've got to tread really carefully. And Number 5, stay informed. You know, keep watching our channel because we update you with everything that's happening, especially as this bounce back loan story with Labour develops. I mean, this Labour COVID Corruption Commissioner, it's not just about catching the bad boys and girls. They're also tasked with teaming up learning lessons for future schemes. And that's going to include putting stronger anti-fraud protections to safeguard taxpayers, because all those billions that have been lost, they're our money. You know, it's our kids and our kids' kids who are going to be paying for this years and years in the future. Now, what does this mean for current bounce back loan fraud investigations? Because with Labour's tougher stance, this is what I think we can expect. They're going to put more resources allocated to investigating these bounce back loans. There's going to be increased scrutiny of bank records and of company finances. Potential new legislation to close any loopholes. Watch out for that. Faster prosecution of clear-cut fraud cases. They're going to be making a real stand on these type of things. And I think we're going to see more cooperation between the banks, HMRC and law enforcement. Just my ideas there. If you're caught up in a fraud investigation, please, you've got to brace yourself. The process is going to become much more intense, I believe, and faster. This COVID corruption commissioner is likely going to push for quicker resolutions and harsher penalties. What's happening at the moment is people are getting disqualified left, right and centre. We're starting to see compensation orders and personal liability notices, and this is where the director is being made personally liable for the bounce back loan that they shouldn't have took. Remember though, listen, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. Now listen, in conclusion, Labour's win is we're going to see a seismic shift in how bounce back loan fraud's handled. If you've played by the rules, you should be fine. But if you've cut corners or you've exploited the system, it's time to get your house in order. Honesty and transparency is your best defence in this new landscape. I hope you found the video useful. Chris Word and Director First. Like, subscribe, comment to the channel. Thanks for your time and God bless.